Our last, but certainly not the least, of our inductees this year is Mary Delaney. And here to induct Mary is her son, Dick. I think most of you know Dick.
Well, good evening, friends. It is great to be here tonight. On behalf of my family and tonight's final inductee into the Cranmore Ski School Hall of Fame, Mary Delaney, welcome and thank you very much for coming. It's truly an honor for me to be able to induct my mom into the Hall of Fame. Skiing has been a big part of our family, and we could not be happier for Mom to receive this honor tonight. This has also been a huge learning experience for me personally with regard to the history of both our family and the Cranmore Ski School. A lot of the stuff you mentioned earlier, I really didn't know until my brother and I did the research on it. And I need to take a minute to thank my brother Paul for helping me write this speech and helping me do the research. It's been a good time. Thank you. Anyways, I want to take you back to the year 1938, when two events occurred that would have an enormous influence on ski instruction here in the Mount Washington Valley. Well, really, only one of them had an enormous impact, but for the sake of a good story, we're going to go with two. All right? That first one was when Harvey Gibson purchased the Eastern Slope Ski School from Carol Reed, and he moved it from Jackson down here to Mount Cranmore. The second one was in March of 1938, when Maria Fantasia first set foot in the United States. Mom was born in Gaeta, Italy in 1932. As I said, she came over here in 1938. She was raised in Somerville, Massachusetts, and graduated from high school there in 1950. Shortly after graduating, she responded to an ad in the Sunday paper for a secretarial position at Household Finance Corporation in their Boston One offices down in Tremont Street in downtown Boston. She got the job, and a few months into her employment, she met a young assistant manager at HFC by the name of Dick Delaney. He had an immediate interest in the young Miss Fantasia. But back in those days, HFC had a strict non-fraternizing policy, so they secretly began dating. So Mom told us the story of their first date. It was around the holidays, and Dad had 4 young nieces at the time. So he asked Mom if she'd like to go out shop with him for the girls. Very smooth, very smooth. How could she say no, right? So that was on their first date. Mom had her first alcoholic beverage ever. It was an orange blossom, she told us. And of course, the Irishman wasted no time breaking her in. They got married in October of 1954, and they had their first 5 children in a 4-year span. Not a typo, folks. First 5 children in a 4-year span. Anyways. Yeah. I had to keep up with the rest of the family. But anyways, and we settled permanently in Dedham, Mass. The story goes that Dad, while on a business trip to Chicago in 1961, he wandered into the Chicago ski show. And he was impressed enough with what he saw to get back to the hotel, call Mom with this idea of a new sport for his young family. Mom agreed, and that was the beginning of an affair with skiing. Dad bought us all used equipment, and we began day tripping, leaving Dedham, ski boots laced, 5 a.m. in the morning, heading for northern New England somewhere. Our first trip was going to be to Black Mountain, actually, right here in Jackson. And a couple of days before the trip, Dad has us all out in the front yard in our new equipment, walking around trying to get accustomed to this stuff. And we lived on a hill in Dedham, and it was a pretty big hill. And next thing you know, Mom's going down the driveway, across the street into the neighbor's yard. But she considered it a complete success that she didn't fall. She was a natural. We went to Black Mountain a couple days later, and Mom remembered it as a beautiful day. We skied, had a picnic lunch in the parking lot. We had a blast, and we were hooked. We day tripped for a couple of years, until 1966. Our aunt and uncle bought a farm in South Effingham, and they invited our family and my dad's brother's family to come up and ski, and stay with them and ski, and we did. We first started skiing at Moose Mountain. That was the season pass. That was down in Wakefield, no longer a ski area. The season pass was $125 for the family, no matter how many kids you had. And at that time, we were a family of 9. My aunt and uncle's family was 13, so it was a value back in those days. So we moved from Moose to Mount Whittier in 1968. Mom and Dad built their own small house in Effingham in 71, and we skied at Whittier until it closed in 1980. But it was during that first year at Whittier that Mom and Dad really took a more serious approach to skiing, and they enrolled us all in ski lessons. And as luck would have it, Mom and Dad's first instructor was none other than 2014 Mount Cranmore Ski School Hall of Fame inductee, Michael Jacobson. Unbelievable. Yeah. Michael, they cultivated a lifelong friendship with Michael, and he played a big part in Mom and Dad coming here to Mount Cranmore. After Whittier closed, we skied, other local mountains, Loon, Pleasant Mountain, Shawnee Peak today, and Bretton Woods. But anyway, didn't take us long for Mom and Dad to come here to Whittier, and that's where they've been. And that's where that second development back in 1938 came into focus a little bit more. Once at Cranmore, Mom and Dad began sharing their love of skiing with generations of new skiers. First by working in the ESSC junior program, where Mom volunteered from 1985 until 1999. And then she moved to the ski school from 99 to 2007. She loved teaching skiing, especially to kids. She worked in the Kids Adventure Camp here, which was run at the time by Jack Collins. And wherever you are, Jack, she wanted me to give you a shout out. She loved working with you. Let's see, where am I? Over the years, she introduced the sport to thousands of kids. There's no telling how far that love has gone. Teaching skiing was never work for Mom. She loved it every single second. We are here tonight to recognize the influence that Mom and the rest of tonight's inductees had on skiing and ski instruction here at Mount Cranmore. But I think it's important for me to mention the influence that Cranmore has had on our family. A few years ago, I asked Mom, what was your best decade of your life so far? And she told me it was between 60 and 70 years old, which I thought was awesome. But a big part of that was due to her working here at Cranmore and the friendships that they developed here. People like Mike and Ellie Jacobson, the Palmers, the Grants, the Newtons, the Tuttles, the Collins, the Brunels, the Grays, Fagonis, the Bartletts, the Devons. These people became lifelong friends for Mom and Dad. In closing, I just want to thank the Hall of Fame committee for recognizing Mom's contribution to this sport. And at the same time, I want to say thank you from our family. for enriching our lives in so many ways.
Hear, hear.
Thank you very much.
Yay, Mom.
Hey, Mary, don't go anywhere. Mary, hey, let's get all the inductees up here so we can get a group picture with them. And any of the inductees that from